tonight, we're really excited to have the principals of Christopher and Christopher Art Advisory here with us. And we are going to talk about collecting specifically online with them. And Christopher and Christopher Art Advisory is a Houston-based art advisory firm that integrates art and design in a variety of contexts. This includes consulting on acquisitions, installation, and the management of private and corporate art collections. Founded by collectors Cody Fitzsimmons and Christopher Scott, with the goal to push the envelope for collecting in Houston and beyond, Christopher and Christopher Art Advisory was formed to empower current and future collectors to build on the rich history of the region's world-class art community. They feel that the legacy of the city's most sophisticated patrons, Jean and Dominique Demenil, demand that we rally around our galleries, institutions, and above all, artists with a 21st century outlook. Further, they write on their website, which is really great, and you should check it out, and it's got a number of articles about them. They believe the region's collecting culture has been primed by its significant art history and is positioned perfectly to move forward into a new area. And they are leading that charge. So welcome, Cody and Christopher. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for that lovely introduction, Stephen.
Of course.
And thank you all for joining us here and to FotoFest for asking us to do this. We're super excited. And also thank you to Chloe and Brandon, who have been so important in helping us put this together. This is about collecting online, but I'm not very good with putting together slideshows and things.
Technology, generally.
Technology, otherwise.
Full disclosure, I'm running the slideshow tonight, so bear with me, but I think we'll be fine. And to that, do you guys want to get right into it? Shall we get right into the slideshow?
Yeah, sure. I think we're
okay. I'm going to share the screen so people can see what we've put together from your collection. Okay. And here we go. I recognize those guys.
and that house probably.
Here we are.
So tell us about CNC Art Advisory and your collection.
Well, this image is in our previous house, and you'll see some more images of that. That was featured in Cultured Magazine, who they profiled our collection specifically. We started this advisory. I had worked at a couple of galleries in Houston. We had been collecting already for many, many years. And I felt that we could, apart from all the organizations that we're involved with, like FotoFest, Chris is also on the board of Aurora Picture Show. I've joined the board of Art League Houston. We're also involved with Blaffer and really active members of Contemporary Arts Museum Houston. So we are super, involved regionally, but also with collecting and our, art pursuits, go nationally.
And I think one of the most important points to make is that we started this advisory out of love for art and love for art in the region, but we started it in a moment that COVID began, really, and that not only required us to pursue our collecting interests and those of our clients remotely and online, but it also was in harmony with what we'd been doing for so long, which is being located in Houston. We don't have the luxury of seeing shows in LA, London, Paris, New York. So we do most of our engagement with galleries, institutions outside of Houston, and artists, etc., other collectors online. So while I think COVID did present a number of challenges for the art community generally, I think it also was, it's an opportunity to kind of level the playing field for people that don't live in those huge metro areas to engage with like world-class art, collect world-class art from your house, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of which,
Oh yeah.
the first image.
This is a work that, when we were making selections of, what works to add, we wanted them to reflect the different kinds of ways that you can collect art online. So this is a work that we bought at auction, not our favorite way to buy art. We really prefer to support galleries and artists directly. If you don't know, unless it's like a fundraising auction that an artist has donated a work to, most auctions go from collector to another collector, and the artist never sees a penny. With that being said, we pay attention to the auctions constantly, and there's a time and a place for them. I think that when most people think of art auctions, they think of like the $100 million Jeff Koons or like the $50 million Basquiat, but it's actually a really great way to get great deals on established artists. And so this being a Cindy Sherman, who, obviously a canonized, very important artist that we could not have afforded otherwise, we were able to acquire this for, a fraction of what it would be retail. And for those of you who are interested in collecting photography specifically, the auction market for photography is really low at the moment. So it's a really great time to shop at auction for photographs by important photographers.
Yeah, it reached a peak a few years ago, and it's sort of leveled off at the moment. I've noticed when I've been doing my research.
There's been this fetishization of painting again. So your painting get the crazy prices.
What are some of the online auction houses that you think do it really well that you recommend?
Well, obviously Christie's, Sotheby's, and Phillips have pretty stellar reputations when it comes to the kinds of work that they pull from private collections to sell. That is a given, but I have found there are lots of regional auction houses that will offer wonderful work in their online auctions. And as advisors, part of our job is to build relationships with auction houses, not just scrolling through the catalogs every time we see a new one come out, but also dialoguing actively with people who work in auction houses and catalog work and seek out work from collectors in their areas. And that gives us a bit of advanced knowledge or insider information on what might come up for auction. And I have been able to build some relationships with auction houses like Hindman, which is based in Chicago. They have some great auctions. They have photography specific auctions, so medium specific. They also have regionally specific auctions. They have Native American art auctions. And they also have post-war and contemporary auctions that are chock full of gems that people from Chicago and that region are submitting work to, often estates that just sell en masse. And hidden in those are often very good deals on artists that you could never get for under six figures at a gallery. So I would echo the point that Cody stated, that it's important to support galleries and artists as much as possible, like directly, by buying art directly from galleries. But auction houses are a great way to get work that you could never afford otherwise, or that would never come up in a gallery setting, that are just sitting in a house or a collection for decades, and then just come up randomly at local auction houses like Hindman. Heritage is another one that's based in Dallas that we work with a lot.
Right.
So, and Bonham's in London is a really good one.
Yeah.
And then there are even like really far-flung auction houses in Switzerland, Sweden, like in Northern Europe, in Brazil. There's an auction house that always has pretty good deals on really, really important Brazilian work. So yeah, a whole range of auction houses that are not just the big three, which are Phillips, Christie's, and Sotheby's. That auction houses that you can rely on.
Do you have any sort of rules that you impose on yourself when you're buying at auction to, I don't know, to watch prices, etc.?
I would say absolutely. I would say the most important thing is to not go into an auction, especially an online auction, because this is an important point for online purchasing. It's really easy to click the bid one more higher, when you're just sitting behind your computer and the money is just, it's like Bitcoin, it basically is. It doesn't exist in material form, so it's really easy to just like keep bidding. So we try to like establish a dollar limit for any piece. We try to discuss it long before the auction occurs, and we don't go over that if we see it going higher, because it's very easy to do that and blow the budget.
As advisors, do you also pursue works on online auctions for your clients?
Oh yeah, all the time, for sure. Okay. Again, we prefer to work directly with galleries to directly support artists. But Chris especially always has his nose on an auction, and it's really helpful also to put in context, like maybe some emerging artists that our clients are looking at, and showing them from an auction, a specific kind of arc for an artist, or how that they could maybe collect an artist who's well known, who within their collection will make their younger artists look better.
Right. And do you do things like check the provenance, or have you ever asked auction houses any questions about the work?
Yeah, and actually I think the next slide has a piece where the provenance is super interesting. And this is, and that's it installed in our old house. This is the work that we saw an image of in an auction. It didn't sell in the auction. And it's kind of an example of how you can go from seeing an image of something to making a trip to see it in person, which is what we did here. So we went from seeing the picture to seeing it in a back room at Christie's, and it has a super interesting provenance, if you want to tell the story.
Yeah, so I found the work because I was doing some research on the artist, because we love the artist, but on the primary market, it was just, her work was like well beyond six figures. So it was just really out of reach for most collectors. So I was just doing some research and found an old auction that this hadn't sold in. One of the heads, I think, in the auction, there were two from this collection. One sold for I think over 200,000, and then this one just didn't sell. And I saw that that the provenance mentioned that it was from an estate. So I figured, well, maybe they still want to get rid of it. So we went to Christie's and asked about the origins of the work to kind of see if, it always helps to know a bit more about where the piece came from, because typically pieces that come from quality collections are the best examples of an artist's work. So we were told with this particular piece that it was from the estate of a man who was an Egyptologist, who was a professor at Yale and an advisor to the MFA Boston's Egyptology collection. And he was married to one of John D. Rockefeller's granddaughters. And he collected Nancy's work in fairly in depth, and he installed them in his home in like a vignette with other like ancient Near and Far East artifacts that he had acquired over his, you know, many decades long career of being an Egyptologist. So it's kind of an interesting marriage of like design, provenance, and like just stumbling upon work online after doing research for however long I did, trying to find work that was of hers that we could afford, because I made the calculation that, okay, this is something that we would be great in our collection, but we're not going to be able to find it at a gallery, and we can afford it. And there are only so many of these that really exist outside of institutional collections now. So I did a hunt online and got some provenance info, and then we flew up to New York and looked at it in person, and then made a deal with the estate that was like for a fraction of what it would have cost at auction or at a gallery.
That's amazing. You know what I love, just as an aside, not a question, but I love the way you live with your collection, and also that you mix photography and contemporary art. I know that we have all kinds of collectors in Houston and around the world, some that only collect photography, but a lot of people collect various multiple media. And I'm always taken with how you make it a part of your life and your collection.
Yeah, I would say that as far as media being medium specific, we don't have any hierarchy.
Right.
Like we see art photography in the same, on the same level as whatever paintings we're looking at, whatever sculpture we're looking at. To us, it's
or even design and furniture.
It's all equally significant. We don't see photography, which a lot of people in the past, I think, have relegated photography to sort of the margins of art history.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the most important and dynamic artists, especially today, which are kind of overlooked right now, are innovating in photography.
I agree, of course.
How could you not?
Yeah. And I mean, it's also, it fits in with the whole history of 19th and 20th century art too. There's a great show that just opened at the Museum of Fine Arts on Georgia O'Keeffe's photography, which was really underknown until Lisa Volpe put this show together and did all the research and found that there were hundreds of her photographs, and shows the artist's obsession with certain things, certain views. That's really fascinating. Is that a Gaetano Pecci vase in the background? Yeah, beautiful.
Yes, we have like 5 of them. Oh, this is, I think, actually our most recent purchase. Therefore, it does not have an installation shot. But this is actually a painting that we saw on Instagram, which is not really how we usually find out about artists in the context of this discussion about collecting art online. Instagram is not the place where we like seek out artists and troll through artists' Instagram accounts looking at work. We do use it to follow galleries that we like, to follow museums around the world, see what's happening for if whatever reason we're not on their mailing list. So this is something, a piece that we saw on Instagram that was actually in a online group show, what they're calling, gallery viewing rooms, which is something that took off during COVID when people couldn't see shows, people couldn't mount shows. If even the art fairs were doing viewing rooms, the galleries were doing viewing rooms there. So this was in a viewing room exhibition that we first saw on Instagram, checked out the exhibition from a gallery that we work with all the time. It was an artist that they were just launching. The artist is in her like mid-30s, but she never had gallery representation before. And we were so taken with the image that we bought it the next day.
Yeah, it looks really fascinating. I haven't been to your new place and seen it in person, but it looks, there's like portraits of faces at the top, right? And yeah, it looks really cool.
It hasn't even arrived in Houston yet, so we haven't seen it in person either.
And do you follow galleries, and do you follow like curators and artists and things like that too?
I follow like artists who either I'm friends with or artists that we have collected. I'm always interested in seeing what they're doing, like just being curious about what they're up to, not just in their art making, but in their lives. And that's another way that I sometimes see other artists I like, because an artist that I already know is hanging out with that artist, going to their opening. So we do find art from artists.
And is it almost like word of mouth in terms of who you follow, or do you put in certain hashtags or browse, or how do you find who you watch?
I think it's probably just like out of observation of our own kind of taste, or
I would say from our past interaction with images on Instagram, we typically won't engage beyond just liking something or doing really cursory research based by hashtag. Okay. We don't engage on a deeper level unless it's with someone that we trust, and with a gallery that we have a previous relationship with, or have at least spoken to via email or in person before. So, for example, this is a gallery who we bought many works from,
and we really trust their taste. And
yeah, we love them as people. We know that they're really good people, and that they represent really wonderful emerging artists at the start of their careers before they get crazy expensive. And so we saw this on Instagram and were, lit up by how dynamic the image was, but we chose to reach out about it and investigate further, and were confident enough to make a purchase sight unseen in person because of who we were dealing with, because of who was making the posts on Instagram.
Right. And also, if you are collecting photography is online a little bit easier because you see the image. But like with something like a painting, if you were, reticent to do so, if you ask the gallery, they will often send you like detailed images or videos going across the surface of the painting, and which is also really helpful in kind of making those choices.
And I'm sure they do the same thing, for a photo, and showing you the signature on the back, or whatever it may be.
Yes, they'll always do things like that.
So for people that you trust, you'll buy directly online without seeing it in person.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, I would say that probably over 95% of our collection was bought without ever seeing it in person. We might have seen the artist's work in person somewhere else, like a fair or a museum, Actually, one of the few works that comes to mind is, Stephen, when we bought your work, we saw that in person, and which is so funny. And we were so taken with it, and we bought it. But you know, with the gallery scene being a little bit smaller here, and our collecting habits being so, you know, ferocious, we can't always travel or to see it in person.
I was going to say, I mean, I didn't know if I would disclose my other hat as an artist on the talk, but the cat's out of the bag now. I was going to say, we probably have some artists watching, and I've been approached by collectors directly through Instagram. It's happened. So I think it's good for artists to put themselves out there, but it's yeah, it'd be interesting to perhaps do a workshop with artists too about how to deal with that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's
yeah. We really, I don't think that we've ever bought a work directly from an artist ever. And it just seems like
it's not something that I don't think that you would be precluded from reaching out to an artist and asking them about their work on Instagram. But it's something that we would, if we were doing it with a client and the client did that, we would want to mediate their interaction with the artist to include their gallery. You have gallery representation, and we would want to include all the parties in that discussion, because that's just in the best interest of the artist and the collector.
Yeah.
To have everyone at the table. You know, there may be work that you don't know about that could be offered through the gallery. The gallery's, you know, the gallery is gonna get a cut of that and stick around for years to come to show more work by the artist. So it's not totally precluded to reach out to an artist and discuss work on Instagram. That's part of it. It's just something that we would mediate.
Right.
And you know, you mentioned the gallery sending video or something like that about a work. What kind of questions do you ask them? Like, what do you ask them to send you if you're seriously thinking about buying something? Like, did you buy the Laura Aguilars online? These two images?
Yeah. So this is another interesting online kind of wormhole that I went down.
Yeah, a little bit more rare than other ways, but
yeah,
still interesting,
still relevant, and I think though I think this story might prove to be more of a advertisement for art advisory services more than anything, because we do so much research, just like deep dives into artists. And this is an example. This artist, Laura Aguilar, is a super important photographer who's deceased, who had no gallery representation when we started inquiring about her work, and also not a lot of interest in a couple of years ago. And I was trying to find a way to collect the work, because I assumed it was just sitting in her archives somewhere, collecting dust. And so I somehow was able to get a contact with her estate, the representatives of her estate, who are just good friends of hers in the queer Latinx community that she was a part of, and engaged in a dialogue, sometimes through email, sometimes on Instagram. And they were super happy to engage with me because I was really excited about her work. And it's something that obviously I didn't have the assurance of, like a gallery saying this work is, you know, verifiable, these signatures are true, but I did have their relationship cemented by the legal representation of the estate. So I was confident there. And I didn't know what they had available. They didn't really have a PDF that they had that they could just send me all of the work that was available and all the prices. So I kind of went through her a monograph that we had from a museum show that she had recently at the time. And I said, well, I love this series. I love this series. And I knew I wanted work that was printed during her lifetime. I didn't want, and I wanted her signature on the work, which I thought was important. And a very important point to make for collecting photography, both in person and online. There is a difference in value and price between art that is printed after an artist is deceased and art that is printed during their lifetime and signed by them by hand. So I knew that I could, filter through down to those works that I knew were going to be really key and have that provenance of, oh, she signed it. She was alive when it was printed. She oversaw the production of the work. And yeah, that was kind of an odd experience to go through, but it's something where the research that I gained, just looking at her work online and digging through to find her estate really paid off, because a couple of years later, we bought those works for nothing. I mean, these are two works that we bought for collectively less than $5,000. And now the auction results are kind of going crazy. So, and the demand is going crazy. And right after I bought these, the Whitney bought most of the rest of her work. So it's just a matter of digging in online and slowly building relationships with various people, and you never know what you can get, really. So it's about building trust and then asking specific questions. I mean, collectors can do it themselves. I'm not saying that you can't. You can totally engage in all this stuff on your own, and it's really rewarding, and it has been for me. This is not my full-time job. I'm an attorney full-time, so I do this because I love it. But it is also hard, and it takes a lot of time when you're dealing with the kinds of work like Laura's that is unrepresented by a gallery, or super obscure in like the dusty corners of a California house run by her friends, estate. So
right. Remarkable images, a great artist, someone I've been aware of for a long, long time. And yeah, that arc of recognition. She was also a resident at Art Pace, I believe, at some point, I think in the 90s, going way, way back. So really terrific. Really terrific. You must be very happy to have these.
Yeah, we love them.
We get a lot of, if we have curators over or gallery people from out of town, they usually comment on those first.
Yeah.
Oddly.
And also collectors are trying to get them any way that they can too, but it's difficult now that there is such little work left in the archive that they are only selling to institutions at this time, which is really interesting.
And is this your new place?
Yeah, this is our new house. Yeah. I appreciated how you what you said about the way that we live with our art. We spend a lot of time thinking about presentation, and I think this is like an example of how you can live with works of art that are really difficult, but in like a really elegant, tasteful way.
Yeah.
Which some people are not sure that you can do. Like they don't think that that's possible.
I would say they're challenging.
For sure.
I think that was her, her whole sort of aesthetic outlook, and that kind of runs through everything that Aguilar did. Yeah. Really, really terrific. Do you ever, she worked at Art Pace, and this is something I thought about asking you back when we were talking about auctions. Do you ever buy at benefit online auctions or benefit prints from, organizations like FotoFest or Serpentine or Photographers Gallery or?
Yeah, we do. Yes, we bought a work from the last FotoFest auction. But mostly we do that locally to support the organizations that we are already, associated with. So we do that, and we have a lot of great works that we've bought at different like art league auctions, PhotoFest, Cam. We have a couple of great things from Cam auctions.
Yeah, they're great opportunities to get work for that. First of all, work to buy that supports an organization, work that supports a local artist, because oftentimes the charity event auctions will give a portion of the proceeds to the artist.
And invite the artist to come.
And invite the artist to be there. And also just discover new work that might fit in your collection that you would never have thought about including in a collection. That particular institution has curated it into their auction for a reason. So you kind of get the benefit of being able to buy work at an auction for perhaps a little bit less money than you would on the primary market, but you also get a curated selection done by not an auction house employee that is trying to make money, but a curator that is interested in supporting a group of artists.
Right. And putting forward a vision. I mean, our PhotoFest auctions curated. Right. And one of the reasons I asked is because it's become much more of a trend now for nonprofits to have an online auction component to their benefit sales.
Yeah, I think that we've done both. We have done in-person bidding. We have done online bidding. For us, it's the same kind of calculation that we would have if we were buying at auction or from a gallery. Mm-hmm. It's less about the venue and more about whether the work is right for us.
Right, but what you were saying about how these selections of artworks, in benefit auctions are curated by, someone who has a specific, set of interests. I think that speaks to the entire conversation about collecting art, because there is so much art out there, and how you can do that, how you can sort through all of that is by having galleries that you trust, curators that you trust, organizations that you're involved with that you trust, an art advisor who can help you do the work, do the research for you, give you the heads up. I think that it takes a village.
And this is a hard question, and before I ask it, I also want to tell the audience, we're going to have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. So if you have some questions, you can send them to us in chat, or I can unmute you if you're in the Zoom room with us in a few minutes when we get to that. But my question is, Cody and Chris, how do you establish that trust? How do you figure out who it is that you trust? And I know you could probably talk about that for hours, but if you have any kind of things you've learned from experience that you want to share about building that trust.
I think that sometimes it's like a gut feeling, being out in the community and meeting people and learning, people have reputations,
I think also too, this points to a different kind of online interaction than we've talked about as much or more, I think, which is looking at images online. Another thing you can do remotely is communicate with people. And we will reach out to galleries, artists that we become friends with via Instagram, through email, and just chat with them. We find out what they're looking at, what artists they're interested in showing. We also hear from them, oftentimes unsolicited, why certain galleries are doing things the wrong way, or why it might be better to support one kind of art over another, or why one artist's work might be a better fit for the collection over another. And those kinds of interactions are, to me, equally as revealing about a person or an organization's character as an in-person conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of meeting people, seeing who your tastes, your interests, how they align. Sometimes that changes. I feel like a different story for every, artist that we collect, or gallery that we work with, or curators that we have discussions with.
It's not a monolithic thing.
No, it's like a never-ending journey.
I'm sure it's like a shifting constellation of things that you consider, including longevity of the organization, but also, like you said, that personal touch, because there can be a great person at an organization, but they might move to a gallery, and then they might move to an auction house or that, and but someone that you really trust. I'm very curious about you having this new media animation piece, and did you buy this online too?
Yes. It was actually from, we were sent a PDF that was a presentation at an art fair. This was before COVID. Art fairs were still happening, but for years, galleries will email PDFs to their clients before the fair, so that maybe you can put something on hold and see it later at the fair, or just buy it outright. So this was something that we purchased from, a gallery. Just, we were interested in the work. The gallery sent the PDF with like passwords to all the video works, and we watched them, and we're obsessed, and we bought it. We didn't even go to the fair.
That's great. That's great.
And go ahead, Stephen.
Do you display it at home?
We have.
I think it varies.
Yeah,
I think it varies because, like, for example, this piece. So this gets into, really quickly, I can talk about how you can buy new media work. Oftentimes, what a gallery does is they'll have a private Vimeo link, and they'll provide a password, so not everyone will be able to access the video and watch it prior to it selling, but you'll be given a preview, and you can watch the whole thing in its extent on Vimeo. You can even like throw it up on a projector, or throw it up on your TV, cast it and watch it big and see if you like it or not. And oftentimes galleries and artists will make a presentation box or an accessory that goes with usually you'll get a USB drive. You'll get a presentation box. This actually had a presentation box that was crafted by the artist with his designers that were doing some other sculptural work for him. So we both have
it. Beautiful as a video.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous box. So you can hang it. We can look at it. We can also pull it out, and he engraved the USB card. So it has a specific aesthetic to it. And yeah, we had a projector in our old house because we do have quite a bit of new media work. We don't have it installed here, but we do have a TV that rolls around. So if we want to show a video work, then we can kind of pick where we want to watch it or where we want to show people, and we'll just roll our TV wherever we want to see it and sit wherever we want and watch it. So if we get the urge, yeah, we
show
can,
someone.
yeah, or just watch it because we haven't seen it in a while. We can play it whenever we want, wherever we want around our house.
Very cool. Do you, let me see, I'll go to the next slide, but I was also thinking, do you also go to kind of clearinghouse platforms like Artsy to look at work that different galleries offer?
So I use Artsy as kind of a way to catalog artists, like following certain artists, just like you would on Instagram. But it's not really something that I use to just open up and see what they've got on the front page, because like I was saying earlier, how it helps to have someone to help you isolate or separate like the good from the bad. It's like any gallery can put something on Artsy. Any gallery can pay to have the artwork on the front page of Artsy or editorial content produced by Artsy. And while I do enjoy a lot of the editorial content of Artsy, it's not my main way of looking, because to be frank, there is a lot of crap on there.
Yeah, it's a great way to it's a great resource to use to supplement research. So sometimes if you're interested in an artist and maybe what's available and you don't necessarily want to reach out to the gallery just yet, you can go on Artsy and look at the artist, and maybe they have prices of individual works that are listed. So sometimes they have nothing. So it's kind of hit and miss, but you can use it to supplement, and they have some good other resources on there. They have they'll have like an auction results tracker that you can use, and
they'll do also like interviews with collectors that are really interesting.
But it's not a primary source that we use. It's more of like just a supplemental thing that we use it every day, but it's not something that we rely on to build like our taste.
Yeah, I think it's more of like an entry level platform.
What I like about it is that you can follow certain artists and they'll send you alerts if something becomes available. And so I haven't personally bought anything from the platform except for benefit auctions, but I love that. And I love seeing, watching the trajectories of the different things that they have. What about more boutique platforms like the one that David Zorner started? Have you been on there?
Yes. Which I think that is a great example of an online buying platform, because it's, at any given time, it's only like work of like 10 or 15 artists that they're highlighting. They're coming from really great galleries. David Zorner is a really trusted, important name. So I don't know. They're also just showing great work. Like Travis Boyer, who's in the current show at FotoFest, had more recently. Some artists that we collect personally have had work on the platform. So that to me is also, it's just because it's such a small selection, you can't like comparing it to Artsy, where there is probably 20 million works of art on that website.
Right.
I think we both enjoy more boutique anything.
Well, given that, we did get a question in online, and it was, how do you recommend getting started for the first time with an online auction or online sale? Do you have like some tips for beginners?
Yeah, I would. So the first thing, and you can jump in, Cody, but I do want to say, I would say the first thing to do is look at the terms, the terms of buying. that will really educate you about, and each auction house is different, and each auction sometimes is different depending on what if it's a design auction, a photography auction, those can vary from auction house to auction house. So I would always recommend reading the terms, and you'll learn a lot doing that about how auctions operate and what the costs that go into the auction will end up being. So lots of collectors will think, well, I see this price, this estimated price on the work that I want to bid on. That's probably how much I'll pay, right? And it's there's a lot more that goes into that, and it probably isn't. So I would recommend first reading the terms and conditions of whatever auction you're doing. And maybe that's the attorney in me talking.
And also make sure to read the condition report of the artwork. If you can't see the person, you have to usually request a condition report. They don't put it on the front page of, the where the lot in the auction is. And sometimes you might find that there are issues with the artwork that are not apparent in the 2D image that you get of whatever it is.
And that's a perfectly reasonable question for you to ask if you're considering buying it online, right? Like, collectors should not be intimidated to ask for that.
That is standard, that you can ask for a condition report and provenance, and they'll send you detailed images. They'll send you images of the back, the front, upside down. Mm-hmm. They will jump through hoops for almost anyone inquiring about a work at auction.
And if they don't, that's a red flag.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Then they're not doing their job.
Yeah. Okay. Another great thing I think is that, auction houses, you can search the auction results. So if you're interested in a certain artist, you can look at, their, catalog of works that have come up for auction at any of these auction houses, how they look, what they went for, what goes for more, what goes for less. They have that history built into the online website. You just search the artist name.
We got another question. What's the name of the David Zwirner platform? Is it called Platform?
It's platform.la.
Platform.
Well, there are.
It's called platformart.com.
Platformart.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
I started as they were doing Platform LA, Platform New York, but when they decided to make it they started during COVID. When they made it a permanent thing, they just switched it to platformart.com.
One of the nice things about that site is it's not just blue chip David Zwirner artists. It's curated, and it's a whole range, right, from emerging to blue chip.
I don't think they don't show any David Zwirner artists on them. It's all artists that come from galleries, small and mid-sized galleries outside of the David Zwirner conglomerate.
And they're all usually under $15,000, if not under $10,000.
Yeah.
So good entry-level price points for unique works.
And how can consultants help? How can consultants help beginners? Like, what should beginners be asking you for?
Well, gosh, this is it's a very open-ended question.
It's also really complicated. It's a very complex process.
Yeah.
I think one thing that we would start by doing is find out what you're interested in.
Right. It's really it's met by the interests and the goals of the collector. So if you really just having a conversation about what your interests are, what you are, what your reasoning for even starting the conversation is, what kind of, where can we go look at museum shows together? And
I mean, we have asked collectors as questions as simple as, what colors do you like to look
seriously
at? And
but they often will tell you.
Yeah, and that's not an invalid question. Like, these are aesthetic choices that are really supposed to be enjoyable. And
or do you like figurative, or do you like abstract, or would you want to do both? Or are you interested in new media, or could you, if you're not there yet, could you get there?
And I think collections evolve too. You learn a little bit through the beginning of your collection where you want to focus.
Totally.
Yeah.
For example, there's a collector in town that only buys, well, he buys Renaissance, but he also buys 20th century photographs by living European women. Like that's the whole focus of his collection.
Very specific. And sometimes you don't get to that point until you've done a couple years of research and buying.
Or just, I think when we started collecting, we were buying things that we liked, and then we started to notice that there were certain themes, ideas that we were attracted to, and that was showing up in a lot of the art that we were buying. So we decided to focus on those. And, it's also expanded since then. There's always new layers being added, but sometimes it just takes time. To do anything of quality takes time.
Yeah. Very, very good note. I don't see any further questions. We're coming up on 7 p.m. If anyone does have a question, speak now. And I do want to also, though, invite the group. I'm going to share the screen again. Let's see. Oop. From the start. There we go. Click through. We have a tour of our current exhibition in place of an index, which has been getting a lot of good response. And Cody, I know you were there at the opening. So this tour on Saturday at 2 p.m. is exclusively for First Look members. So it's going to be a private tour, a very small affair with our associate curator, Max Fields, who helped put the show together. So we hope that you can come to that. And the other thing people don't know, and it's funny, I've even had people that have known FotoFest for a long time say this to me, that they didn't know that they could buy from FotoFest, because some nonprofits you can, some you can't. FotoFest, if the artist and the gallery want to make the work available, we help broker the sale. And we've done that. We do that for individuals, but we do it for museums too. We've just sold some work to the MFAH and to LACMA in Los Angeles. So it's something that we do, but come see this.
Fabulous. And there's there's a lot of great art that some of which is available now to buy, and some that we have ourselves consider collecting.
Yeah, and there's a whole range of price points too, because there's some emerging artists in the exhibition. And then we'll end on this slide. I'll leave it up when we end, but get involved with First Look. Tell your friends about it and come to our events. And as we reopen with COVID hopefully receding into our memories, we'll be doing more and more in-person events, and we're going to continue these online seminars. I can't thank you enough, Chris, Cody, for sharing with us and being so open and generous with your knowledge. It's been really great.
Good. Well, we were so thankful to have the opportunity, and we love FotoFest and the FotoFest community. So anytime you want to get us to do anything, we are there.
Well, I think, we'll do a tour when it's right. When it's good to have people in.
You can see that, you can see this craziness behind you and see how we kind of
I was asking Cody about that painting before we began the talk. And then I also wanted to thank Chloe Jolie and Brandon Harris, the team here at FotoFest, for putting all this together and making it work so seamlessly. Thank you very much. And thank the members for everything that they do to sustain us. It's been really great to have your engagement, even though we can't gather in person until recently. Last thing to close on, how do people reach you all if they want to talk to you further about any of these subjects or, get your advisory services?
Yeah, I mean, we have our website, ChristopherChristopherAdvisory.com. We're both on Instagram. There's an advisory Instagram. I know FotoFest has been shouting us out on their Instagram.
Just send us an email.
Or just go on our website and there's an email so that,
Yeah.
that you can send, or a contact form to fill out.
Or if you see us at an event, just come up and say hi.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would love to talk about work. That's our passion is talking about art. So or collecting or supporting institutions. So
And
just talk.
Chloe just put your website in the chat. So if you're watching on Zoom, you can take a look and copy paste that. Or, if you forget the very easy to remember website name, you can always contact me or Chloe and we'll be happy to help you out. Just shoot us an email and we'll connect you.
Longest name in the world.
Well, Christopher and Cody and Christopher, I didn't ask you about that.
So Christopher's actually the first name.
Yeah, we're both named
Okay.
I just luckily never win by that name, or we really would be Christopher and Christopher, or Chris and Chris. But
Weird.
it's cheaper than Christopher and Cody Art Advisory.
It makes me smile. I like it. Thank you both again. It was terrific. And it'll be archived on YouTube for anybody that wants to see it. So tell your friends if you enjoyed it. Send your friends to take a look at it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.